Statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Let's get the latest from the Aqua and Orange with our Baptist Health of South Florida Miami Dolphins report with USA Today insider Safid Deen. From orthopedics, sports medicine, cardiovascular, and even cancer. Get the world-class healthcare your family deserves at BaptistHealth.net. Here's Safid Deen.
There he is, the one and only Safid Deen. How you doing, baby?
Big O, how are you, man? I love the intro. The intro is just chef's kiss, man.
There you go, man. There you go. The best. Baptist Health. Where my daughter was born. Where my wife fixed her jaw. Where my daughter fixed her broken finger. Where I got my 5 stents in my heart. Where
the magic happens.
Yeah, where they put us all back together again. Okay?
Where all the magic happens.
Where all the magic happens. Throughout the Alzugaray family, we have gone to Baptist Health over and over again. Thank them for putting us back together again and survive. And there you go. So, and they put the Dolphins back together again too.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Proud partner, I'm sure.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So proud partner here, proud partner over there. And, of course, sponsoring Safid Deen and Anthony Chang's updates here.
My guy.
So, yes, looking forward to it. All right. Man, it's finally here, dude. God, you've been writing about it, and we've been talking about it, and now we actually get to talk about real football. And one of the things that I think is very intriguing, I think the more interesting storyline, it's not so much Tua. It's not so much about the offensive line. It's not so much about the Chargers. It's really about Mike McDaniel, because that coach stifled him last year. And so, McDaniel has something to prove a little bit here into week 1. How does he adjust to what Staley did to him last year and kind of stump him a little bit as an offensive mind? And then overall, he didn't do well against his former contemporaries. He only got 1 win. I think he was, 1-3 last year against his former contemporaries. So there's some things on the line personally for Mike McDaniel to start off week 1.
1-3 and a 90-yard touchdown pass to open the 49ers game. That was it, right? Look, I think you're right. Mike McDaniel has a lot to answer for, a lot to prove. Mike McDaniel's last time out last year was in Buffalo, and he had issues with the play clock and getting the play into Skylar Thompson. And the biggest moment of the season, when you're in the fourth quarter of a game and your defense just got you the lead, right? Right. Dolphins had a chance last year. They had a bunch of chances last year. It was funny to hear Mike McDaniel say Brandon Staley's name not once, but I believe twice during his press conference on Monday. Asked directly about the game last year, and said, I think about it 1/17th of the time. And I don't think you think about it 1/17th of the time when you're saying the coach's names twice in your first press conference of the week. But look, Brandon Staley did have the answer for Tua in the offense last year. They kept the middle of the field, filled with defenders, and Tua was forced to do some things that he didn't want to do. And the Dolphins couldn't score at all. If they didn't have that Tyreek Hill fumble recovery, they would have been scoreless at halftime, I believe.
Yeah. I think so. Right.
So it was a 1-touchdown game. Dolphins turned it on a little bit in the end, but it was just too much to overcome. And it wasn't really too much to overcome either. The Chargers are good. Eckler's good. Mike Williams had a field day with Xavier Howard last year. So that's the matchup I want to see. I want to see the Dolphins stop the run, stop Eckler. And I want to see how much you're going to run on the Chargers too, because the Chargers' run defense is fairly weak as well.
Yes, no, and we were talking about it on the show today. I mean, they were 27th last year, and they were allowing 144 yards per game. The last 3 games, they were allowing 162 yards per game, okay? Miami was allowing 103 compared to their 144 on the average. So you got and you got those 200 yards a couple weeks back against Jacksonville, which maybe shows that you are going to be committed to the run. McDaniel talked about it in the offseason, apologized to Mostert. So all that kind of talk, brother, if you want to clear up the middle of the field, get those linebackers on their toes, not on their heels. And then all of a sudden now you're going to open up the middle of the field because the linebackers have got to come in and worry about that run. So everything plays right into the hands. You kept an extra running back this year. So if you kept 5 backs, it's because, guys get injured and you want to use backs. And obviously the Brooks kid brings something different to the table. It's set up, right, Safid? You got to run the hell out of the ball in this game.
Yeah, and not even that. You got to keep the ball away from Herbert.
Right.
I keep the ball away from that guy.
Right.
I'm going to give myself a good chance to win. Yeah. I like the Chris. We spoke about this last time. Chris Brooks, I like that pick a lot. And I think with Jeff Wilson being out and A-Chain kind of coming back, Chris Brooks might get some number 2 snaps, practice this week and in the game. If they're inside the 5, I see Chris Brooks getting a handoff during this game. I guess definitely see a Chris Brooks touchdown second quarter. Book it right now. Let's see how much we get from Vegas on that one. But the Dolphins have to make a statement in this one. They all know they went to California and stunk it up last year. Offensively, they were horrible. And it's up to Tua, and it's up to Tyreek Hill, and it's up to Jalen Waddle if he plays. And hopefully you get to run Armstead. And if you don't, hopefully your timing is not too far off where you can still be successful and hang on to the football. I just don't know how they're going to do without Armstead. It sucks that he's already injured this year and you're already worried about it versus having him for a couple games. But at some point he's going to come back this year. It's just you're hoping he can play on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think by Wednesday maybe by Wednesday or Thursday we should know, right? He's got to practice one of those days at least this week. I know you can hold him out all week and all that kind of stuff, but I would imagine that he's got to at least take the field once this week in this first week for a couple of reps. You know what I'm saying?
I could see it both ways, Big O. They didn't need him to practice at all last year, and he played really well. But I could also see that, it's not for Armstead. I mean, it's for Armstead, yes, but probably for the 4 other guys on the line to see how they perform at Armstead, that they probably need that. So Tehran is the biggest question mark, obviously, in week 1. Jalen Waddle, I know, is pushing a play. We'll see how he does in practice this week. For me, that would have been, the second question mark because of the injury that he had during preseason. Outside of that, you're just worried about the Dolphins secondary and if they have enough bodies right now. Defensively, I think it'll be okay. I think they're going to be able to stop the run. Eckler is just going to be a headache because he is, he's either running the ball or catching out the backfield, and you don't know which way he's going to go. And sometimes Herbert might just launch one, man. So we'll see how this game goes. I'm really, really excited to see what the Dolphins show. I'm excited they're not going to be in Cali for 2 weeks before this game, going right before a business trip, come back. And then the season gets underway, man. They're going right to New England week 2. So let's stick with week 1 first. Excited for this game. You got a pretty primetime window. Everybody's going to be watching in that afternoon slot. I'm excited to see what Tua and Mike McDaniel in this offense, and obviously the defense does too.
Who's the guy you think benefits the most from Vic Fangio becoming the defensive coordinator in that unit?
Got to be Bradley Chubb. It's his defense. He's played it into Denver. He's the one that had all the sacks and success and all the stats that we mentioned when the Dolphins signed Bradley Chubb and made him a favorite for the playoffs last year, which he did eventually make. But this is his defense. He's the one that knows it in and out. He's got to lead the guys behind him. Even if he's leading behind Christian Wilkins, whatever the situation is there, but he knows the scheme. He's got to bring Jalen Phillips along. I think one of my favorite things going into the Dolphins locker room this year was seeing that Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are sitting right next to each other. I like that. I like that for, continuity and defense and just, what those two guys can kind of do to make each other better. And what Bradley Chubb can offer Jalen Phillips because he's obviously the next one coming up. But I like all this. I love the defensive line pressure and the depth. I still like Ogba and Van Ginkel a lot. I like Van Ginkel a lot. Maybe
I think he benefits from this scheme.
Yeah, outside linebacker are both those guys' forte. I can even see Ogba and Van Ginkel on the same side of the field, and you have Chubb or Phillips on the other side, and see what you do from there. But I think the D line, and I think Bradley Chubb is the one player that benefits the most because it's his scheme and he knows how to play it.
Um, when I look at this defense, Wilkins, okay, he's handled everything beautifully. He's always been a team guy from the get-go, and so everything has always been a great example. But I just wonder now that he has to compartmentalize the salary and his play. How will he balance all of that? I think it's something that we all really can't predict, but it's a different monster for him. This is a hell of a challenge for him. It's a challenge for anybody, dude, because any of us, even in our business, by the way, sometimes they're not going to renew you and they let you work that final year of your contract. And you already knew when they didn't renew you going into the final year that they're going to make a change already as it is. And then you've got to compartmentalize and still do your job knowing a year ahead of time that you're probably not going to be there. That happens in our business and it happens in their business. So he has to compartmentalize all of that. How do you think he balances all of that?
I think the first part for Christian Wilkins is I think he's going to be here. And I think just for him, it's how much he's going to get paid. Wilkins has to play for it. It's his contract year for him, pretty much. I believe the 5th-year options already happened, and the franchise tag could be next. And even if he did get the franchise tag, it wouldn't be so bad for the Dolphins. I know for him, he would be a little discouraged because he has to play another year on another contract situation, and then you probably get into what you just said just now in our business, where you don't know if you're coming back. If I'm Christian Wilkins and I'm playing on a franchise tag, I know I'm gonna be really, really ticked off. But that's a year out from now. And hopefully the Dolphins show some good faith by Christian Wilkins. We spoke about this last time too. Dolphins won one. They got to the playoffs. They got to win a playoff game. You win 2, everybody's going to get paid. Not just Christian Wilkins. I'm talking Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle, Javon Holland, Jalen Phillips, all those guys. You already see a good amount of role players. Alec Ingold, Zach Zeeler getting new deals just to stay with the team and fill their roles and have that kind of locked up for the future coming in here. But this is a 2-year window, and maybe it's a 3-year window if you count last year, but Dolphins got a 2-year window right now. If it's not this year, it's got to be next year, and you're hoping it's this year because you got Tyreek in his prime still. You might get Jalen Ramsey back later this year. Xavier has still been really good for you, knock on wood. You still got whatever's left of Teron Armstead, knock on wood again there. Tua's improved, and you're hoping every year Tua, does everything he needs in the offseason to be a lot better. And we've seen some clips already of him, taking some good falls and learning how to fall properly and productively. So everything's riding on this right now, Big O. This is the Dolphins' window. This is the Dolphins' time. We've seen what happened with the Buffalo Bills. Their window's still open, but it's a lot more closed than it was 2 years ago. They lost Brian Dable. They lost their defensive coordinator right now, too, Leslie Frazier. All those things kind of take away. You peel a layer away from the onion, and you're kind of left with what's remaining. I think the Dolphins, this is the prime opportunity for them. This is their window, and they need to make the most of it.
Dude, you just gave me something to think about, and I have to ask you about this now. Because you just mentioned how other guys are getting deals done. Sealer got his deal done. Rosenhaus got that done.
Mm-hmm.
The fullback just got his deal done. They seem to, come to an agreement with X, even when he was at a disadvantage a couple of years ago, but yet he ends up getting his money. They signed Teron Armstead and Chubb, and so what do we know about the Wilkins deal? Did the Dolphins offer a fair deal? Because the Dolphins aren't known to be the Spanos family. They're not known to be the Brown family in Cincinnati that, frugal and hard to negotiate with and all that kind of stuff. And so if the Dolphins seem to come to an agreement with everybody, it seems like they really don't have these kind of situations. Are the Dolphins offering a fair deal? Are they offering an unfair deal? Is Christian Wilkins asking for fair money, or is he asking for unfair money? What do we know? Because the track record of the Dolphins you just reminded me, is one of they come to an agreement with people.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think Alec Engel and Zach Sealer are not asking for precision resetting money, right? I don't think Christian Wilkins is also asking for that specifically. You're not going to walk into Chris Greer's office and ask for $32 million more than Aaron Donald's making when you know you're not Aaron Donald. I think Chris Jones is probably in that situation too with Kansas City asking for 30 because
But he's a lot closer, bro.
He's a lot closer. Nick Bosa's a lot closer. Nick Bosa should restart the whole damn market, right?
But he's injury prone. So that one scares you a little bit because the Bosa brothers get injured, but Chris Jones is a rock, bro.
Yeah, Chris Jones is really good.
A rock, and he moves mountains. The
problem,
Aaron Donald, but man, that guy's close.
Yeah, I mean Quinn and Donald's
kind of flirt with it. You know what I'm saying?
Quinn and Williams is also close.
So is he asking for Quinn and Williams money? And what would you do, Safid, Deen, if you're Chris Greer and he's asking for Quinn and Williams money? What do you do?
Go play another year, man. Go get 2 wins over Buffalo. Go get a playoff game. You can't reward these guys after one season. They go one season, and you want a resetting contract or a contract that's gonna be top 5 or top 10. He's probably asking for something that more than Chubb is making right now.
Probably.
And so is he better than Chubb? Is he worth more than what Chubb is worth?
No. And I've mentioned this a couple times. What are the 5 most important positions in football? Quarterback, left tackle, shutdown corner, number 1 wide receiver, and pass rusher, right? What does Chris Greer pay? He pays his tackles. He pays his number 1 wide receiver. He pays all his corners, Byron, X, and now Jalen. And he pays the number 1 wide receiver, Tyreek. The only thing left is the QB. Christian Wilkins doesn't fall in any of those 5 categories because he's not a pass rusher. So is that where Chris Greer is hitting the brakes? Because Chubb's a pass rusher. Ogba's a pass rusher. I'm sure he'll pay Phillips. He pays all his corners. I'm sure he'll pay Waddle because he paid Tyreek. So he kind of shows you who he is. Are we at a stalemate here because he doesn't fill one of the 5 categories?
Maybe not because he doesn't fill one of those categories, but I can definitely see where Chris Greer wants to make the most of his premium money at those premium positions. Look, Christian Wilkins is a team first guy. He said it in his press conference. Nobody wants to be a Miami Dolphin more than he does. This is an opportunity for him to go and really prove that again this year. Is he the outright leader of this defense? I would say so. I think guys follow him. He's got a lot of juice and a lot of energy. And like I told you last week, when he's in the backfield terrorizing Josh Allen, it's the most beautiful thing to see in football, right? Especially if you're a Dolphins fan. If you're a Bills fan, you're hating the guy's guts, right? He's one of those guys that make your team a lot more cohesive. And he's one of those guys that pisses everybody off on the other end and gets them out of their game and gets Josh Allen turning the ball over and, throwing a pick or, fumbling and Zach Sealer's recovering and scoring in the end zone. Look, I think the Dolphins feel like they offered a fair amount in a contract negotiation. We just don't know how much the price was. Christian Wilkins obviously didn't accept it, so it probably was low enough or too low for what he was hoping for. Should Christian Wilkins get paid? Sure, I can definitely appreciate that. I think everybody here needs to do it with one more season in tow and with a playoff winner to really show that, okay, this guy's worth the money. Because you pay the guy after 1 year, you don't make a playoff, and he's supposed to be your best player against Buffalo. You only beat them once last year. So,
but what about if he gets a sack, Safid? What about if he goes and gets 7-8 sacks? You still don't win the playoff game, but he played well. It's not his fault that you didn't win a playoff game, but he went and did what you asked him to do. You wanted to be more of a pass rusher? Okay, became more of a pass rusher. Got you 7-8 sacks. How do you answer then?
Yeah, you give him his money. You make an offer that's maybe a little bit higher than what you initially offered him and still maybe a little lower than what Christian wants. And then you kind of go from there and see, all right, Christian, you want to be franchise tagged? Nah. I mean, look, if you're a contract guy, well, this is different. This is really hard to kind of give a blanket answer for. But you know how NFL contracts are. You know, a 2-year deal is really 1-year deal. A 3-year deal could be a 1 year, maybe 2. 5-year deal is a 3-year deal. You know, anything at the end of the deal doesn't really matter. You want guaranteed money up front. If I'm Christian Wilkins, maybe I take a lower deal money of 2, 3, 4 years, get the guaranteed money after 2 or 3 years, go back to the negotiating table because I played really well. You know, some players are not really as, you know, beneficial or get to benefit from that system. You know what I mean? Like a guy like, hard to explain here, but, you know, Tyreek Hill went and got his money. Tyreek Hill's not going to have another contract like this.
No, and the tackles actually are better than most positions because you age gracefully there, actually. You actually get paid as a defensive tackle in your early 30s, whereas as a running back and a receiver, they ain't going to touch you with a 10-foot pole. They might give you a minimum deal is what they'll do. But a 33, 34-year-old defensive tackle could still make a lot of money because you could actually be very effective still at 33 and 34 as defensive tackle.
Yeah, especially if you're productive. Laramie Tunsil's another one of those guys that got a second really huge contract. You know, he got a new deal with the Texans when he first got traded there and just signed a new one this offseason. So Christian Wilkins got to play, man. He's got to put his future money where his mouth is. And he said he wants to be a Dolphin here more than anybody. He's got to go out and prove it.
What's the road trip like for you? You going to Los Angeles or what?
Oh no, I wish. I'm staying here in the beautiful city, man. Gonna be watching from home. Gonna be watching Argentina and play as well. With Messi going over there the next couple weeks for the next week. But I'll be home watching the game.
To make that playoff run, we're going to be missing a lot of players that are going to be out, and that's going to hurt that playoff run, bro. That was huge delay this weekend.
It definitely sucks, and it was a huge win with the points and stuff like that. I think if they win the U.S. Open Cup after winning the Leagues Cup, I think they'll be okay. Like it'll still be a successful season.
Yeah. I agree. It's just it would be nice for them to just sneak into the playoffs because they would be so freaking dangerous, bro. I mean, listen, the win this week
was champions. They just beat the champion.
No, man, this week and you're only 8 points out with 9 games left. You realistically got a shot, and now all these young guys are playing. If somehow they can play with the Messi confidence without Messi, that would be really nice. You know
and without the goalie, Calendar's been a baller.
Yeah, man. That's to me, he's the second most important player.
Yes,
I know.
I agree.
He's the guy, but to me,
I agree.
Calendar, bro. Calendar has been, oh my God, bro.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that man has been awesome, bro.
He has been lights out. It's funny when you mention Busquets because you're wondering like who's the third best, and it depends on the game. It's Busquets, it's Jordi Alba. The last game, it was
Kamal Miller, bro.
Yeah, he was really good. Who's the other defender that they had in the Leagues Cup that did well?
It was a tie. The only reason it was a tie because of Kamal Miller, bro. He stopped 2 goals.
Oh yeah, the Nashville game, right?
Yeah, dude, he was a beast in that game, man.
And then this 18-year-old kid's pretty good too. Benjamin Kromowski.
Yeah, Kromowski.
That kid is really taking advantage of Messi playing here. He's loving every minute of it. I love how we completely got off topic.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, so we'll catch up later in the week, Safid. As always, I appreciate you, my man. Let's see if the boys can get it done.
Let's do it, Big O. Appreciate it, man.
You got it.
The Baptist Health of South Florida Miami Dolphins report with insider Safid Deen is brought to you by Baptist Health of South Florida. From orthopedics, sports medicine, cardiovascular, and even cancer. Get the world-class healthcare your family deserves at BaptistHealth.net.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.